When we think of muscle cars, our minds usually drift to the legends, those iconic machines that defined power and performance in their heyday. But there's another side to this story that doesn't often get the spotlight. These are the cars that promised thunder but barely managed to rumble, or which aimed for glory but ended up as cautionary tales. Sometimes, even the mightiest manufacturers can miss the mark in the high-stakes world of American muscle cars. So join us as we count down the top 15 worst American muscle cars ever made. 15. Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon Brougham. Launched in 1976, the Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon Brougham aimed to blend luxury with the Cutlass Supreme's legacy. Its Brougham badge signified opulence, and it was supposed to feature plush velour seating, quad headlights, and a distinctive waterfall grille. However, like many cars of its time, its design aesthetics fell short by today's standards. So it wasn't the kind of car you'd consider at a used car sale. Yet under the hood, buyers had options ranging from a robust 350 cubic inch V8 to a more modest 231 cubic inch V6, delivering between 140 and 210 horsepower. While these engines allowed the car to reach top speeds of up to 110 miles per hour and achieve 0 to 60 time within 12 seconds, the Cutlass Salon Brougham struggled with several performance issues. Emissions regulations of the era, combined with the car's substantial weight, resulted in sluggish acceleration and poor fuel economy. The handling of the Cutlass Salon Brougham was another area of concern. Its large size and soft suspension led to a floaty driving experience and imprecise steering, which did not inspire confidence on the road. Moreover, the vehicle was plagued by rust, electrical problems, and rapidly deteriorating interior quality. So you'd agree it was good riddance, just like our next car too. 14. Chevrolet Cavalier Z24. The Chevrolet Cavalier Z24 was manufactured in 1986 and was aimed at infusing sportiness into the Cavalier line, with the Z24 name referencing Chevy's racing legacy. This model came with quirky body cladding, ground effects, and optional spoilers, giving it a false, sporty appearance. The interior was designed with performance in mind, featuring bucket seats and a sport-oriented dashboard. Simply stated, it didn't look that good. Early models of the Z24 were equipped with a 2.0-liter L4 engine, producing 88 horsepower. But later versions offered a more powerful 2.8-liter V6 engine, achieving up to 150 horsepower. Despite these enhancements, the Z24 struggled to deliver on its sporty promises. The car's handling was often criticized for being lackluster, a result of its front-wheel drive layout and uninspired suspension setup. Build quality issues especially plagued the Z24, with rust and electrical problems being common complaints. Additionally, some of its design elements, such as the extensive use of plastic body cladding, were seen as tacky by critics. Competitors like the Honda Civic C and Ford Mustang overshadowed the Z24 with better handling, more engaging driving experiences, and superior build quality. Over time, the sporty character of the Z24 faded, especially in later models that lacked significant updates. This decline led to the Z24 gaining a reputation more for its missed potential than its performance. But while it remains a nostalgic favorite for some, the Z24 is often viewed as a bungled opportunity in Chevrolet's sporty compact segment. So as we look back at the Chevrolet Cavalier Z24, as well as other upcoming cars next, it's clear that not every attempt to blend sportiness with practicality will work out. 13. Ford EXP Turbo. In 1984, Ford launched the EXP Turbo as a peppier counterpart to the standard EXP. This model was part of Ford's Special Vehicle Operations, or SVO for short, division's attempt to inject some zest into their lineup. But the result came off woeful, as the car looked every bit like a wedge. However, the EXP Turbo held the distinction of being the first American front-wheel drive car equipped with a turbocharged engine of 1.6-liter inline-4, delivering 120 horsepower. Despite its promising specs, the EXP Turbo's reality was a mix of mild highs and pronounced lows. It boasted a top speed of 112 miles per hour and could accelerate from 0 to 60 in 9 seconds. This made it faster than its base model, yet it fell short of the high-performance expectations set by its SVO badge. The car was often criticized for its significant turbo lag, which hindered acceleration and led to a laggy power delivery. Additionally, the EXP Turbo's attempt at sportiness was compromised by its stiff suspension and short wheelbase, resulting in a ride that was too harsh for many driving enthusiasts. Again, its boxy design was considered lackluster, missing the mark of the era's sports car excitement. Reliability issues, particularly with the turbocharger and other systems, further marred its reputation. So, due to disappointing sales, the EXP Turbo saw a short production run, which ended in 1986. And speaking of ugly, sporty compact cars, how about this next one? 12. Pontiac Sunfire GT. Introduced in 2003, the Pontiac Sunfire GT aimed to uphold Pontiac's legacy in compact performance, following in the footsteps of the Sunbird and the iconic Firebird. This iteration, available exclusively in coupes, and even offering a convertible option for enthusiasts of open-air driving, was powered by a 2.4-liter DOHC inline-4 engine, delivering 150 horsepower. In addition to the fact that it looked like a Pokemon, the Sunfire GT struggled to carve out its place in the market. It boasted an estimated top speed of 125 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 8.5 seconds, which were numbers that looked competitive on paper. However, the GT badge couldn't hide its shortcomings. Critics often pointed out that its performance didn't align with the muscle car ethos, citing sluggish acceleration and lackluster handling. Build quality was another area of concern, with the use of subpar materials detracting from the overall driving experience, and there was that not-so-sophisticated look. Reliability issues, including electrical and mechanical faults, further plagued the Sunfire GT, potentially turning ownership into a costly affair. And as we've already mentioned, there was one more reason amongst the others to put off consumers, which had to do with its uninspiring design. It lacked the bold and aggressive stance that muscle car enthusiasts crave. The following car from Pontiac also failed in many ways too. 11. Pontiac Astra Little Wide Track. In 1975, Pontiac attempted to inject some muscle car flair into its Astra lineup with the Lil Wide Track package, which was really a dealer-installed appearance upgrade. This package aimed to emulate the bold look of Pontiac's performance models without enhancing the Astra's actual performance capabilities. Featuring distinctive decals and wider fender flares, the Lil Wide Track sought to give the Astra a more muscular presence. But this turned out badly, and the result didn't seem any closer to looking like a muscle car. Instead, it looked like a typical basic 70s car. Under the hood, the Astra carried over the same engines as its standard version. It was a 140 cubic inch, 2.3-liter, inline-4, producing 78 horsepower, or a 160 cubic inch, 2.6-liter, inline-6, delivering 98 horsepower. Despite these efforts, the Astra's performance remained poor, with a top speed around 90 miles per hour and a leisurely 0 to 60 time of 15 seconds. Critics also pointed out that the Lil Wide Track moniker implied a beefier stance, yet the package failed to enhance the car's track width or suspension dynamics. This left much to be desired in terms of handling and overall performance improvements. Instead of enhancing the Astra's appeal, the aesthetic additions were criticized for seeming out of place with the car's fundamental design, earning unflattering labels like Poser Mobile. So, the brief existence of the Lil Wide Track suggested the Astra's struggle to find a niche in a market dominated by genuine muscle powerhouses, like the Chevrolet Camaro and Ford Mustang. Ultimately, the Lil Wide Track package faded into obscurity, remembered as a curious experiment in muscle car mimicry, rather than a successful enhancement of the Astra's identity. Lined up next is another car that took mimicry too far. 10. Plymouth Cricket 1971. In 1971, Plymouth ventured into the subcompact car market with the Cricket, a vehicle that deviated from American design norms by being a rebadged British Hillman Avenger. Marketed as a practical contender to the aforementioned car, the Cricket offered decent cargo space and foldable rear seats, which appealed to practical-minded consumers who didn't mind its looks. Hence, the design aesthetic, if any, was sacrificed for practicality. Under the hood, the Cricket housed modest 1.5 or 1.6L inline-4 engines, producing between 70 to 85 horsepower. This powertrain translated into top speeds of 85 to 90 miles per hour and a quite sluggish acceleration, with 0 to 60 mile per hour times ranging from 15 to 18 seconds. And despite its aspirations to rival popular models like the Ford Pinto and Chevy Vega, the Cricket fell short in a lot of ways. Critics and consumers alike found the Cricket plagued by uninspiring performance, questionable reliability, which included rust and electrical issues, and there was also that unattractive and boxy design to consider. These factors combined to hamper its sales and garner negative reception, leading to its discontinuation after just 3 years on the market. Originally intended to evoke notions of agility and lightness with its name, the Cricket instead became emblematic of Plymouth's struggle to establish a foothold in the competitive subcompact car segment. Perhaps, its brief tenure serves as a cautionary tale in automotive branding and market strategy, while highlighting the challenges of adapting foreign designs to American tastes. And here's another car model that disappointed the aesthetic tastes of Americans even more. 9. Pontiac Sunbird Formula. Introduced in 1976, the Pontiac Sunbird Formula aimed to inject sportiness into Pontiac's subcompact lineup. Despite the Formula badge historically symbolizing high performance in Pontiac's lineup, its application to the Sunbird prioritized style over substance. This variant featured a distinctive 3-piece spoiler, bold decals, and a TA steering wheel, aiming to evoke a racing aesthetic. However, the Sunbird formula faced criticism for its perceived cheap construction and handling issues like pronounced torque steer, detracting from its driving experience. Moreover, its design, despite attempting sportiness, failed to break free from the constraints of the basic Sunbird body, making it uninspiring in a market dominated by potent Japanese imports and American muscle cars. In short, it was a compact that was slightly too long. Throughout its production years, the Sunbird formula offered a range of engines, from a modest 1.6L inline-4 producing 85 horsepower to a slightly more robust 3.0 V6 with 112 horsepower. However, despite these options, the car's performance left much to be desired. With top speeds around 100 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time ranging between 10 to 13 seconds, it struggled to deliver on the sporty promise its name implied. And while ultimately finding a niche among budget-conscious consumers seeking a sporty appearance, the Sunbird formula fell short of expectations. Whatever the case, its legacy remains a notable example of a well-intentioned effort that missed the mark in American automotive history. Our next car is a Chevy car, and it certainly disappointed as well. 8. Chevrolet Monte Carlo Landau, 1970s. The Chevrolet Monte Carlo Landau was introduced in 1973 and set out to rival luxury coupes like the Ford Thunderbird. So essentially, it was a muscle car that tried to look luxurious. Or was it the other way around? Whatever the case, the lack of definition was a problem. It boasted features such as a distinctive Landau vinyl roof and a plush velour interior. And as mentioned, it aimed to combine luxury with Chevrolet's performance heritage. The option of a powerful 400 cubic inch V8 engine pointed to the intent of its manufacturers to appeal to both luxury and muscle car enthusiasts alike. So in the end, it looked off-putting, especially when it revved off. But despite its luxurious aspirations, the Monte Carlo Landau faced challenges in performance. Its bulk contributed to sluggish acceleration, managing 0 to 60 in a less than struggling 11 seconds. Also, fuel efficiency suffered due to heavy engines and stringent emission regulations of the era. Handling wasn't its strong suit either, because it was plagued by significant body roll and poor cornering dynamics. And this problem stemmed from a soft suspension setup and hefty build. In addition, build quality issues, including subpar interior materials and assembly flaws, tarnished its reputation over time. By the late 1970s, the Monte Carlo Landau's large, boxy design fell out of favor as fuel efficiency became a more pressing concern. Despite these challenges, it remains a notable example of Chevrolet's attempt to blend luxury and performance during a transformative era in automotive history. So from a Chevy to a Chrysler and an Italian collaboration that went south. 7. Chrysler TC by Maserati. 1989 was the year Chrysler and Maserati joined forces to create the Chrysler TC, a luxury coupe aimed at blending Italian flair with American market appeal. But in all honesty, it wasn't very good looking, coming from both automobile powerhouses. While handcrafted in Italy, this car boasted a turbocharged 2.2 L14 Chrysler engine, modified by Maserati to produce 160 horsepower, achieving a top speed of 130 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 9.8 seconds. Featuring a premium leather interior and a removable hardtop, the TC was supposed to exude elegance and sophistication, but by today's standards, it was mediocre. Irrespective of its luxurious features, the TC struggled to live up to the lofty expectations set by its prestigious collaboration. Critics noted its performance shortcomings, which failed to match the power and prestige typically associated with the Maserati name. Its high price tag also posed a challenge, as it couldn't justify its cost against more established muscle and luxury cars of its time. Reliability issues further tarnished its reputation, plagued by electrical and mechanical problems that distanced it from the reliability expected of European luxury brands. The TC found itself in an identity crisis, straddling between two automotive worlds, without firmly establishing itself in either. Ultimately, after just 3 years, Chrysler discontinued the TC by Maserati. Our next car model was discontinued even quicker. 6. Ford Thunderbird from the mid-1970s. In 1974, the Thunderbird underwent a significant transformation, evolving from its sportier roots into a personal luxury car, notably offered in the Landau Coupe format. But really, it lived up to its name by looking like a bird, complete with a beak-like grille. This same marquee signaled a departure from its previous iterations, emphasizing grandeur over athleticism. But the attempt fell flat. Honored as the pace car for the 1974 Indianapolis 500, this Thunderbird embraced a 4-door design adorned with a Landau roof and upper windows, reflecting the lackluster luxury trends of its time. Under the hood, it featured a robust standard 460 cu and V8 engine, delivering 220 horsepower, with optional engines offering even more power at the expense of fuel efficiency. Despite its power, the Thunderbird's performance was modest, with a top speed around 114 miles per hour and a leisurely 0 to 60 time of 10.5 seconds, reflecting its struggle against the era's more agile muscle cars. This shift towards opulence came with drawbacks. The Thunderbird was criticized for its sluggishness and high fuel consumption, especially notable during a period of rising fuel prices. Its handling suffered from a soft suspension, prioritizing comfort over precision driving, which worked for its pseudo-luxury image, but compromised its agility on the road. And so here goes another Chevy misfire. 5. Chevrolet Citation X11. Back in 1980, Chevrolet ventured into the compact car market with the Citation X11. The overall aim was to inject some much-needed sportiness into its lineup. Built on the Citation platform, which had been criticized for its blandness, the X11 featured a 2.8-liter V6 engine. It was later turbocharged to deliver horsepower figures around 135 to 140 horsepower. This move promised modest performance enhancements, boasting slightly quicker 0 to 60 miles per hour times compared to the standard Citation. However, the X11 still fell short of true muscle car standards. Its top speed peaked at just over 103 miles per hour, reflective of its compact car roots rather than high-performance aspirations. And about that bland look, Chevrolet's attempt to sportify the X11 included a stiffer suspension and wider tires. Yet these efforts couldn't fully overcome its front-wheel drive layout's tendency towards understeer and poor handling dynamics. Moreover, the X11 inherited the Citation's reliability woes, plagued by issues ranging from electrical gremlins to rust and mechanical failures. By 1984, production of the X11 ceased, swiftly fading into obscurity without leaving a lasting mark on the muscle car genre it aimed to redefine. But back to Ford, stumbling once again on this one. 4. Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe from the 1980s. From 1987, Ford unveiled the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, a car that broke new ground as the first American production vehicle with a turbocharged V6 engine, so it boasted an impressive 200 horsepower. Besides the engine upgrade, it even introduced innovative features such as a retractable sunroof and an optional digital instrument cluster, subsequently setting high expectations in the muscle car segment for years to come. But like many cars of its generation, its design aesthetics would have felt out of place in a more modern world. In fact, the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe struggled with bulky aesthetics that hampered visibility, diminishing its appeal compared to other sleeker rivals. Additionally, the Turbo Coupe faced significant challenges that tarnished its pioneering status. Reliability issues plagued the model, with frequent electrical system failures and turbocharger malfunctions adding to its woes. Drivers frequently noted noticeable turbo lag and weak low-end torque, resulting in inconsistent and sluggish performance for daily use. The automatic transmission also received criticism for its jerky and unresponsive shifts, further worsening the driving experience. And so, despite its potential, the Turbo Coupe failed to outshine competitors like the Ford Mustang and Chevrolet Camaro, which offered superior power and handling dynamics. Poor sales sealed its fate, leading to its discontinuation after just a brief 2-year production run. However, our next model was just as bad. 3. The AMC Gremlin X. In the annals of automotive history, one quirky contender stands out, and it's the AMC Gremlin X. It was launched on April Fool's Day in 1970, and this was definitely a date that signaled its polarizing legacy. This compact car dared to defy convention with its two-seater base model. By all accounts, this was an oddity in an era of family-oriented vehicles. And so, while featuring a curious absence of a back seat and a fixed rear window, it left enthusiasts scratching their heads even today. But beneath its unconventional exterior, the Gremlin X offered a choice between a modest 199 cubic inch L6 engine, pushing out 128 horsepower, and an optional 304 cubic inch V8, slightly improving the performance with 152 horsepower. Yet despite these powertrain options, its speed topped out at a modest 100 miles per hour, and acceleration from 0 to 60 took a leisurely 12 to 15 seconds. As we mentioned, it wasn't merely the lackluster performance that cemented the Gremlin X's notoriety. Its design was often likened to the aftermath of a train collision. It was paired with cheap materials and questionable build quality and failed to impress. Despite initial popularity driven by affordability and fuel efficiency, the Gremlin's legacy remains marred by its harsh ride, subpar handling, and unforgettable design, for all the wrong reasons. Now we have our fourth Ford car on this rundown up next. 2. Ford Mustang II King Cobra. The Ford Mustang II King Cobra aimed to inject some much-needed venom into the muscle car scene of the late 1970s, targeting rivals like the Pontiac Trans Am with its aggressive styling. For starters, it featured a distinctive hood scoop, bold graphics, and a rear spoiler, so the King Cobra certainly looked the part of a fierce competitor. But what ruined this Mustang marquee for us were the gimmicky additions. Also, the reality under the hood told another story. Despite its ferocious name, the King Cobra was powered by a 2.3-liter turbocharged inline-4 engine, which managed to produce only 134 horsepower. This modest power output resulted in a top speed of around 100 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of 8.2 seconds. Certainly, those were disappointing figures for a muscle car, especially when compared to its contemporaries like the Chevrolet Camaro and the Pontiac Firebird. Performance wasn't the only area where the King Cobra fell short. Its handling left much to be desired, lacking the sharpness and responsiveness expected from a Mustang. The departure from the classic Mustang design, combined with its smaller size, contributed to its lackluster driving experience. In the end, the Mustang II King Cobra struggled to escape the shadow of its iconic predecessors. Its performance and design failed to live up to the Mustang legacy, and it couldn't fend off the advancements of later Mustang generations. And finally, the car model that takes the cake. 1. Chevrolet Vega GT. The Chevrolet Vega zoomed into the market in 1970, and its name was supposed to be inspired by the brilliant Vega star constellation. And correctly so, the ambition of its manufacturers was to outshine Japanese sports cars. As such, it boasted a lightweight aluminum engine block, which was a novel approach aimed at enhancing fuel efficiency. Suffice it to say, this was a rarity among its muscle car peers. However, the Vega's 2.3-liter inline-4 engine delivered a mere 90 horsepower, later increased to 96 horsepower, resulting in lackluster performance. It also clocked a sluggish 0 to 60 miles per hour in 14 seconds and had a top speed of just 100 miles per hour. Unfortunately, the Vega's journey was also marred by a slew of issues. Aside from its bald eagle-like design, its underwhelming power was just the beginning. The car became notorious for overheating, oil leaks, and even engine fires. These unforgivable failures were mostly due to design flaws and poor quality control. Rust quickly and easily devoured its thin, uncoated steel frame, and its safety ratings plummeted due to its fragile structure and inadequate braking system. And while its emergence into the American muscle car market was set against the backdrop of the 1970s oil crisis, the Vega was overshadowed by more dependable and powerful muscle cars like the Ford Mustang and Dodge Challenger. Irrespective of its initial promise, the Vega's lights dimmed quickly, making for a sad tale of ambition eclipsed by reality. It serves as a reminder that innovative ideas must be matched by solid execution for designs to work.